Long ago, in the ancient world, the earth was full of life, full of beauty, full of everything God had made and called good. But the hearts of men had turned dark. Violence filled every city. Corruption ran through every street. The world God loved had forgotten him completely. But there was one man, just one, who still walked with God. His name was Noah, and in a world that had abandoned righteousness, Noah stood apart, and God came to him, not in anger, but in intimate, direct, unmistakable voice, the Creator, speaking to the one man who still listened. Noah, I have seen the wickedness of this world. I am going to bring a great flood upon the earth, but you, I have found righteous before me. Build an ark. That was the instruction, a vessel so large it seemed impossible, in a land where it had perhaps never even rained. And Noah said yes. He didn't argue, he didn't doubt. He picked up his axe, and he began. Day after day, year after year, he built what God had described. The ark took shape slowly, beam by beam, plank by plank, an act of radical obedience rising from the ground in the middle of a world that thought he was insane. He sealed every seam with pitch, he measured every cubit, he followed every instruction, because Noah understood something when God speaks. Precision matters. The neighbors watched, and they laughed. A flood? In this dry land? The old man had lost his mind. The mockery was loud, but Noah kept building. He heard every laugh, he saw every pointing finger, and it broke his heart, not for himself, but for them, because he knew what was coming. And then one day, it was finished. The ark stood complete, massive, sealed, ready, a monument to one man's faith, built before a single drop of rain had fallen. God spoke again. Go into the ark, you and your household, for in 7 days I will send rain upon the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. And then came the miracle that silenced every laugh. From every direction they came, pairs of every creature on earth, moving calmly toward the ark. No one called them. God did. Lions walked beside deer, eagles landed beside doves. Every creature that had ever breathed, moving in perfect order into the shelter God had prepared. Noah watched them all enter, every last one, and he walked through the ark, this floating world God had built through his hands, filled with the breath of every living thing. And then the door closed, not by Noah's hand, by God's. The outside world sealed away, and inside, a remnant of creation waited. Outside, the sky began to change. The blue disappeared. The clouds came, not slowly, but rushing in from every direction at once. The world could feel what was coming. The first drop hit the dust, then another. Then the sky opened, and for the first time since creation, the heavens poured out everything they had. Rain like the world had never seen, lightning tearing the sky apart, rivers forming in minutes, the ground disappearing beneath churning floodwaters. The judgment had begun. Not just rain from above, but the deep broke open from below. The underground waters erupted, the earth and sky together, releasing a flood that would cover everything. And the ark rose, lifted by the very waters that were destroying the world around it. What was meant for devastation became the vessel of salvation. Inside the ark, the storm raged around them, but Noah looked at the animals, and they were calm. And he remembered God had sealed this door. God was holding this vessel. They were safe. The waters prevailed, and prevailed, until there was nothing left to see in any direction but water. The entire earth beneath a silent grey sea. Below the surface of that great flood, the old world rested, everything that had been covered, and above it, the ark drifted, carrying the hope of everything that would be. In the stillness of the ark, Noah prayed, not frantically, not desperately, quietly, steadily, the way a man prays when he has already decided to trust completely. The days became weeks, the weeks stretched toward 40. Noah marked them, waited, and trusted, because faith is not the absence of waiting. It is waiting without losing hope. He opened the window sometimes, just to look, just water, just clouds, just the vast silence of a world remade. He closed it again, and waited some more. And then, one morning, the rain stopped. The hammering on the roof faded, then lighter, then gone. Noah sat very still, listening to the silence, and it was the most beautiful sound he had ever heard. The quiet inside the ark was total. The animals rested. The water lapped gently. A single ray of light pushed through the window, and Noah breathed. He opened the window. Clean air rushed in, fresh, washed, new. He pressed his face into the wind and breathed it deeply. The smell of a world that God had washed clean. He sent out a raven first. The dark bird circled over the endless waters, but the waters still covered everything. and the raven flew back and forth, finding nowhere to land. Then Noah held out the dove, small, white, pure. He whispered something to her before he let her go, perhaps a prayer, perhaps a hope, perhaps just, "Go and tell me the world is ready." She flew out over the great waters, small and white against the enormous grey sky, and Noah watched until he could no longer see her, and then he watched some more. She came back in the evening. No branch, nowhere to land. Noah reached out his hand, and she came to him. He held her close, and he waited 7 more days. He sent her out again, and this time, if you looked carefully at the horizon, the very tips of hills were beginning to break the surface. The world was coming back. She came back at dusk, and in her beak, a freshly plucked olive branch, green, living, real. The first growing thing Noah had seen in months, and he wept. He held that small green branch in his big rough hands and stared at it. A leaf, just a leaf, but it meant life has survived. The earth is healing. God has kept his word. He sent her out a 3rd time, and she did not return. She had found her world, and Noah pressed his face against the ark wall and thanked the God who had never let go. The waters receded, the mountains appeared, and the ark came to rest on Mount Ararat, gently, solidly, as if God had placed it there by hand, because he had. God spoke again, the same voice that had first called Noah to build, now calling him out. "Come out of the ark, you and your family. Bring every living creature with you." The door opened, and light, real sunlight, blazing and warm and overwhelming, flooded in. Noah stood in the doorway, blinking into the brightness of a brand new world. His feet touched the ground, fresh earth, wet and clean and smelling of new life, and Noah fell to his knees immediately, because some moments demand nothing less than that. And then the animals came, pouring out of the ark in a magnificent flood of life, birds filling the sky, lions bounding into the grass, every creature reclaiming the new earth, creation beginning again. Noah built an altar, not a palace, not a monument to himself, an altar, because the first thing a grateful heart does when it survives the impossible is worship. He knelt before it with his hands raised and his face toward heaven, tears pouring down his weathered cheeks, a man with nothing left to prove and everything to be grateful for. And God was pleased, and God spoke a blessing over Noah and his family. "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth. Everything that lives is given into your hands." And then God did something he had never done before. He painted the sky, a rainbow, full and vivid and breathtaking, arcing from one end of the horizon to the other. Noah looked up at it with tears on his face and awe in his eyes, colors he had never seen together. A sign written in light across the sky, just for him, just for all of us. "I have set my rainbow in the clouds. It will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life. This is my promise forever."